So today I had a learned helplessness incident happening to me. I had some bowel infection. I'm not sure what it is yet, but basically, my lower bowel thingies all the way up to like the bottom started hurting really bad, and then I had to go get medicine and water. But as soon as I got up, I sort of lost control of my body. Like the pain was so intense that I started having very serious vertigo. Like I wasn't aware of anything. I think I was going kind of the wrong way because I think I was trying to go to the bathroom because I also felt like vomiting, but I didn't vomit. And I went the other way apparently, and I'm not aware of any of this because on the way I sort of fainted. I basically fell down and I was laying on the ground for like I don't know how many minutes. And there was nobody in the house, and my housemate wouldn't be coming back until late this evening. But thankfully, I didn't die, and I managed to get up and get the water, get the medicine, and go right back to bed, and just laying there. And I think it's kind of subsiding now. I think I'm better now, but it's still painful. And if it keeps up until tomorrow, I have to go see a doctor. I don't know what happened, but very scary feeling. It felt like near death. It's like one of those experiences, and yeah, so what happens when you get older. Anyways, that's a fun story, right? And then I just felt like checking Facebook. I don't know why, but I started doing it, and I found out this hashtag Me Too. I was aware of it before I checked out Facebook, but I didn't know what it was, and then I just find out to my dismay what it was. What it was is basically another series of feminist whinery and male cuckery. So off of Facebook, there were like three or four people. I think two or three of them are women, or maybe two are women or two are men. I'm not sure, but at least one guy was basically kind of going like, "Oh, I was a misogynist too. I was misogynist towards women, and I am guilty." Like the "you're a sinner, confess" kind of thing. And this is kind of a sad because this was a guy who used to be a mixed martial artist in college. That's how I knew him. He was really proud of his physique because he really worked hard at building it. And he taught me some martial art moves because I was doing martial art when I was in college. And he was also really confident because he had all this like fitness. I wasn't really attracted to him because like I'm not like I don't actually really like overly masculine men, but good for him. And now he's a cuck. I don't know how it happened. Maybe it's because well, I mean, he does live in a state. I don't want to be accused of doxing. He lives in a state that's very liberal, and maybe it's because of all these experiences and somebody guilt tripped him and he felt like he was being misogynist to women or something. And actually, regarding this guy, in college, there was one time that he was kind of drunk and he called me, and then he said something, and I sort of invited him into my apartment. And the reason I did that was because I know that he was drunk, and so there were two things I was thinking. I was thinking maybe I shouldn't be inviting like a drunk guy into my apartment, but if I don't do that, he might run into some trouble, outside, because it was really dark. So I just did it anyways because I don't want to be responsible and for something happening to this guy. So I invited this guy in, and he just sort of laid on my bed because he sort of crashed on my bed because he was like really drunk and stuff. And he told me that he got into a fight or something. I'm not sure because his speech was really blurred. And then I don't remember what happened to the rest of that time, but eventually what happened was he sort of came on me, and then he tried to like have sex with me, and not something that I like, and like I wasn't particularly attracted to this guy either, but he was I find him to be a good friend. We had some good time together as friends. So I sort of turned away, right? And I also, this was during a time when I just feel really insecure about this kind of thing, like about having sex with men, yeah, because I was pretty much a virgin, and and he just said something like, you know, what problem do you find with me? And then so I was kind of like, what problem do you mean? You know, I was kind of like really timid. And then so he just left, right? So he didn't rape me, but now that I think about it, I could have accused him of rape. Hint, hint. So anyways, I don't know. Maybe it's because of these experiences that turned him into a cuck. I'm not sure. It's just that these kind of things do happen in college, on college campuses, and I didn't handle it in the best way that I could have. But yeah, the conclusion is when they say 1 in 4, I could have been in that statistic. Really, like I didn't think I was raped before, but apparently I was because the left-wing people tell you that you were raped, you just didn't know it, right? Okay, and then there was this girl who apparently when she grew up, she was enrolled in a gifted school, so she's like super smart. She gets like really good grades and stuff like that. But she posts these things. Now, to her credit, she didn't block me the first, you know, many times that I posted on her wall when she started bringing up gender issues. And I do that because I really felt like some things needs to be said. The other perspective needs to be brought onto the table because these people just doesn't know anything. And then this time around, she started using the Me Too hashtag, and she said that she was sexually harassed because at one time, I don't remember if she said at a bar or something, this guy who's old enough to be her grandfather says something like, you know, I wonder what you look like without your clothes off or something like that. Well, in her words, she was wondering out loud. So I'm not sure if that means she presumed that he thought that, or maybe this guy was just kind of drunk and he was really just kind of like ruminating and he wasn't aware that he said these things. Or if this guy really was trying to say this thing, then yeah, it could be either this guy is overly confident and he doesn't care about other people's feelings, or it just could be this guy was trying to pay her a compliment, which is more likely. That's kind of a, I don't know, in my experience, many men pay compliments to women in that way. Like, oh, you have a nice body, you have a nice butt. You know, like, oh, I would, even as extreme as, you know, I would love to take you to bed or some, you know, some really confident men who would say that to a stranger woman. And this apparently to her is sexual harassment. Now, this kind of thing, yes, I have experienced it too. I'm not sure if I've ever experienced a guy saying to me, I wonder what you look like with your clothes off. Probably because like I have a very slim figure. Like I don't have like big butts and big breasts. Maybe that's the reason. And I'm usually dressed like pretty conservatively. Like I don't wear like huge exposing stuff. So they probably didn't think that. Or didn't think to say that, right? But I have seen something similar, you know, men trying to hit me and things like that. And so I basically said, you know, maybe you should just act like adult and either ignore it or just tell the guy to stop. And if the guy doesn't stop, you should leave. And if the guy somehow gets physical or persists, just call security. You know, that's what an adult would do. That's what men have done, like, since the dawn of time. And so I said that, you know, men get harassed much more, although this, I was thinking about the statistic. I forgot if it's online only or if it's both online and in the real world. But there was a statistic I found that men actually get harassed much more. And then, of course, all these people came up and said, well, they're not getting sexually harassed. Okay, and I don't exactly remember what the stats say about specifically sexual harassment, because, you know, keep in mind that feminists have defined sexual harassment basically meaning anything that the woman doesn't feel comfortable that's in a sexual nature. So the equivalent would be a woman complimenting a guy, wow, you really have a nice abs. That would, the counterpart of that would be sexual harassment. But, you know, of course, a woman saying to a man, like, you have nice abs is a compliment, and a man saying to a woman, you have a nice ass, it's sexual harassment, right? So really, like, I'm kind of woozy now, like, what harassment mean, what sexual harassment mean. And after I thought about it, I thought, okay, the real definition is probably somebody keep bothering you. So it's not just somebody saying, hi, honey, what's up? And then you're kind of going like, okay, not interested to go away, and you just want to, okay, like cats basically. Cats kind of do that. Like if they start bothering you, and if you just start to kick them away, they'll be like, okay, I'll come back maybe to ask for more food. Right? And but if this person keeps bothering you over and over again, that can constitute harassment. But again, like in most public places, there are security guards, and you can just basically go to an authority or security saying this guy is bothering me. Can you ask him to stop, or can you ask him to leave? And there's not a public place that I'm aware of that there isn't a law that protects you from being bothered like this. But that's not what the feminists mean. Feminists just mean words, like basically words that you can ignore and that you can deal with yourself, but they have to put on a grand display on Twitter, and they have to advocate for all women to relay their experiences. And my response to that is, fuck that. Really. These are the things that you should learn as an adult how to deal with. Okay? I mean, and they're very simple solutions, but it's all about the feels. That's the problem right now. And one thing that I was kind of almost happy about, I was almost jumping up in the air, was apparently the Scientific American published the collective stats that's been found in the recent years regarding sexual assault and about rape. They included the CDC and some other studies, and they also included incarceration. Now there's a guy who came along, I think it might have been her father-in-law or her husband, and he just kind of came and said, I want to see some proof. So I was able to find that, because at first I was like, oh my god, like finding sources is hard on Google for things like this. But apparently there are people who are writing it, and this is a good thing. It means that yay, our movement is working. Maybe I'm just being too optimistic. And I posted that, and I'm sure that he didn't read it very, very clearly. He sort of skimmed through it, and he just said that, oh, it's not convincing because they included incarceration data, because he didn't read it clearly. The article clearly stated that they included both incarceration and both CDC. So I said, no, the CDC doesn't include incarceration data. That's the normal population, and that has been replicated for many years. And I asked him this question that everybody should ask when people say they're not convinced by something. What would it take to convince you? What evidence would it take to convince you? Because if you say nothing, then I rest my case. And of course, this guy said nothing. So I said nothing, then I rest my case. And then, of course, the Facebook friend came along, and she basically told me that she said, I don't know how you got so radicalized with your myopic view of misogyny. I am a total misogynist. I want individual people, to take responsibility of their own actions. I want people to accept and realize and understand the consequences of the choices they make in life, because unfortunately we don't live in the utopia, we don't live in heaven, and our choices are not limited, and generally speaking there's like a trade-off. If you choose this, then you're probably losing this. If you're choosing this, you're probably losing this. And this is what every individual has to deal with. So yeah, I want women to women up, and I want men to man up. I don't just say this to women, and there are conversations I've engaged with MGTOW individuals, certain ones who I also have said, take responsibility of your own actions. Like if you choose a bitchy woman, then you have to take the consequences that she's going to be a bitchy woman. This is just paraphrasing what I'm saying, because it's a long discussion. So, so then, I mean, in terms of misogyny, like, from the feminist lens, anything can be misogyny, right? So I can actually say what she's doing is misogyny, because, to tell women that they should just complain and complain and complain, and that they have no no power in life and they're all just victims. I find that to be misogyny, and the fact that they're not even attempting to look at case in an individual by individual scenario, and try to teach women how to deal with these. I'm sorry, they are little things, okay? I mean, there are far bigger things like finding a freaking job, like competing, like having to deal with authorities who have power over you and can fire you on any day of the week. You know, these are the things that are far bigger and you have far less control over. But a stranger say something to you you don't like, tell the freaking dude fuck off. Like if you don't want to be polite, or if you want to be polite saying that, I don't appreciate what you said, I don't like it, so please stop. If you're not going to stop, then I'm gonna go away, right? Because it's a free country. And if you persist, because let's say if it's a space that we're sharing, I have to be there, I'm going to ask authority to ask you to stop. I mean, okay, so do that and stop complaining. You have every right to do that. You have every power to do that. So anyways, so she called me pseudoscientific, even though she never even attempted to look at the link. She never attempted to look at any data I gave her. She called me pseudoscientific, and so I said, no, you're the ones being pseudoscientific. You refuse to be engaged in dialogue. You refuse to understand the other person's perspective, and use objectivity and reason to come into conclusions. You're being pseudoscientific. And then she just kind of went like, oh, it's about me. I'm such a victim. I've let you do this. I've let you write on my wall. I've let you written on my friend's wall. I've done enough. And we cannot have a productive relationship anymore. Yeah, this is apparently a woman who's gifted. Yeah, and this just kind of makes me sad because it could very well be that if I give her a super complex let's say computer science problem, she's gonna be able to solve it better than me, but apparently domain transfer is just not a thing. That's just how it is with people. You're smart on one part and then you're just completely retarded on the other part if it involves your feelings. So she ended up blocking me, and I have to say that no loss from my perspective. I just want to say the good riddance to her in her ignorance and trying to play the victim and tell other women to play the victim all the freaking time. But fuck hashtag me too, because I'm not buying this shit.